Yo, what an episode, man. What an episode. What a freaking episode of Bleach. It makes me so pumped. Like, yo. Oh my goodness, it's so amazing that I could sit down and not just cover an episode of Bleach, but cover an episode of Bleach that honestly just blew me away. I think blew us all away that have watched this episode. Added content like this at the beginning of the episode. Like this stuff right here. Getting to see the OG Gotei 13 go in and wipe out Bach's entire group, basically, and oh my, just, like, this entire scene, it's so good. Like, this is so good. This is legitimately so good, and even though it's a brief scene, this adds so much more, because I believe in the manga of Bleach, it's been a while, like I've said, we only saw a panel. This added so much more. Like, we legitimately got designs of these characters that we haven't really got to see before. And FYI, I want to point something out. The designs of the captains, the original captains, FYI, that are long gone, they are actually in the ending song for this episode of Bleach, which, if you have seen that illustration for Bleach I made a video on like a few days ago, you will recognize that the overall designs of them is straight up from the illustration, which shows that Kubo, obviously, he did that illustration for this ending song, but I do wonder if he plans to expand more into these characters because they were just left up in the air for who they really are. I don't even think we actually got legitimate names for the said characters. Like, I don't think we legit ever got names for any of these actual original Gotei 13s besides the ones we already know that were actually in it. So just, yeah, overall, I think that the ending song to this episode is so amazing. Just shout outs to that. But let's get into the real reason why we're here. We want to talk about all the reveals in, like, this segment of the episode. Getting to see Ichigo go up against, Bach, and it's honestly just way better than I expected. I mean, last episode was holy crap, but this one really was surprisingly, like, really, really good. It even had the iconic scene, save Soul Society, Kurosaki Ichigo. Just that whole moment. Oh, like, okay, I gotta say it. I legitimately gotta say it. I gotta talk about it because it is so important to this episode. I really think that the sound team, like the sound design team for this week's episode of Bleach, is probably the best it's been ever. Like, honestly, like, I want to talk about just the ambiance of this episode, like, to the rain in the background, to the visual effects, which isn't sound, but the visual effects as well, like seeing the spirit pressure of Ichigo, like the Ryatsu, kind of evaporating the water around him, just everything about the sound design and some of the visual effects that's thrown into this episode adds so much more life and care to it that I just did not expect to see. They did not need to go that extra mile. They legitimately didn't, but they did, and I think that the calm, somber tone of this episode really speaks to just how this is like the end of Soul Society. It gives you that feeling that Soul Society has legitimately fallen, because when you like see this like scene at the beginning where like Yamamoto, he's done, he's dead. It's a sad, heartbreaking scene, and it is honestly emotional. It basically paints the fact that it's over. Soul Society is done. The main head captain, a guy that's reigned as the head honcho for over like 1,000 years, has just fallen, and his literal body was reduced to nothing by Bach. Bach just disintegrated him. He's gone. And basically to say he's done. There is nowhere he's going to go. And I think legitimately by just everything, by the way this is done, like this whole segment of the episode building up to Ichigo's scene is just so in line with the themes of Bleach and all that. And I especially love how it goes into Ichigo's character, and anyone that has forgotten about Ichigo's character will get to see it firsthand once again in this episode. Basically, what I'm talking about is when, Yhwach, he actually starts, he starts talking about Ichigo's mother. Like, he legit starts talking about, like, how he might be a Quincy to some degree. He kind of hints at that. He doesn't downright say it, but it's pretty freaking obvious with the way the dialogue goes, and the final dialogue at the end of the episode saying, "My son born in the darkness." It's like, okay, what's going on here? And, I mean, when he has the whole, like, realization that Bach, this guy in front of him, basically had maybe something to do with his mother, definitely upset him. And we gotta remember, everything that kind of started Kurosaki Ichigo as a character stems from his mother. Like, when his mother died, when she straight up died for him, and he felt like, you know, he lost his entire world. His world shattered around him because he couldn't protect those around him. And finding out that someone that is right in front of him is potentially in some way or shape or form connected to his mother makes him really distressed. And I love this entire scene. I really love seeing this because Ichigo as a character, he's a hero, obviously, for the story, but he isn't like the exact same type of hero you would see, let's say, in something like, you know, One Piece or Naruto or something like that. He's a very distinct and different hero, and you can see a lot of distress. Like, he's very sad, he's very stressed and overwhelmed in this moment, and it's definitely a dark moment for him, and Ichigo has a lot of these moments, honestly. Even in the Fullbringer arc, I think if anyone wants to actually logically look at that arc, regardless if you hate it or not, you know, Ichigo went through a lot of stress in that arc as well, with the whole fact that he didn't have his abilities anymore, etc., finding out about Fullbring, and you can see that his character's always going back and forth with those emotions, and he's always just someone that's being used and casted into the wind, and other people are using him for their own purposes, etc. It's, legitimately sad, and I just think that the way this episode kind of does everything, it is so well done with the sound team. Like, getting back all going full circle, the sound team just really adds a lot of life to this because it builds up these tones that, you know, you can easily just, you get immersed in it. Now, one thing I do want to comment on, I've been seeing it quite a bit on social media, aka Twitter, and I've been seeing a lot of people saying that, you know, Bleach doesn't have a lot of movement, and all I could say is, what is this? Like, what is this scene? Like, there is, like, not just this episode, okay? If we're wanting to be fair, let's talk about the previous episode. Previous episode was fantastic. And then let's talk about episode 3. I think that was the episode people started complaining about. There was a brief scene, one brief scene that looked a little bit off. But that was basically about it. Besides that, I mean, I don't really think Bleach has lacked movement, but there is people that actually say Bleach lacks movement, which is just, it dumbfounds me. It legitimately dumbfounds me that people actually think that. But anyways, let's get back into the actual story elements. So one of the big things that we could get from this fight with Ichigo and, you know, Bach is that there is a time limit of some sort that is put on him, our main Quincy King, because he instantly had to drop what he was doing and he had to leave Soul Society to go back to where he came from because something's going on there. We don't really know the details, but something's happening. And the only reason why this happened like this and why the fight was interrupted is actually thanks to Aizen, which is just a huge shock because Aizen as a character, let's be honest, Aizen, he's always been this, he's a bad guy. He was our main first villain. And the fact that he messed with our new main villain to such a degree that he threw off his plans and time passed by in a way that he didn't realize too much time passed is pretty cool. I love how Tite Kubo honors his original villain and he doesn't use his original villain to just say, oh, this new villain is stronger. Like, kind of explain there, this is a normal formula, but basically, there's a lot of times in a lot of different, you know, series, especially when it deals with battle shonen or just battling in general, you'll have a character that's, let's say, incredibly strong. Let's say they're that peak that happened maybe in the first few arcs. They were absolutely just straight up, like, badass. They were a badass character, and you're like, man, this guy is crazy. And then all of a sudden, like, 80 chapters passes after that, and you have it to where a new villain appears and beats the crap out of that said powerhouse character just to flex and say, yeah, this new guy is stronger than him, we should be afraid. And basically, the old character is just used as a power leveling system to be able to show who is stronger, who is not. But it's clear that Tite Kubo could have done that. He could have grabbed the low-hanging fruit and done that with the Quincy King here and said, yeah, you know, he's stronger than Aizen. But Kubo didn't do that. He didn't throw Aizen under the bus and say, yeah, Bach would beat the crap out of, you know, Aizen. He just left it as is, that Aizen was still able to mess with Bach to such a degree. This man that was obviously able to probably take down Yamamoto at full strength, even with, you know, or without the help of the doppelganger. There's a lot of things that's thrown out there. But the point is that I really just love how Aizen is given respect. It's a little story element that I think that not many people are going to catch in on or just care too much about, but I think that adds a lot of, you know, like, character, or at least it adds a lot of respect I have towards the manga and the anime and also Tite Kubo for not using Aizen in such a way that was just so iconic that fundamentally is like the foundation of Bleach itself for its story. So, yeah. Just, that's all that needs to be said. Anyways, I want to also talk about the hints. So, We get the blade cut, by the way. This is crazy. So, now this blade scene. This scene is absolutely emotional for a variety of reasons. I mean, we know his connection with his zanpakuto. We know Ichigo has went through a lot to be able to have his blade to where it's at, to be able to use his, Getsuga Tensho. We've seen him have his mixture of Hollow and Soul Reaper side. He's went through a lot, even Fullbringer as well, because this is technically his Fullbringer, equivalent of his zanpakuto. And seeing the fact that it was just chopped in half like it was is legitimately sad, because it's basically saying that Ichigo really can't fight anymore. Like, his main weapon to be able to defend anyone was his zanpakuto. And now that he can't use his zanpakuto, he lost literally his tempered blade to be able to stand before enemies. He can't protect anyone anymore. His very reality shatters in this moment. And it's a very soul-crushing scene. And I feel like this is obviously going to lead to a lot of character development and fundamental growth for Ichigo in the future. But we also got to look at what it means right now. He just made a promise to Byakuya, saying he didn't say anything, and Byakuya even comments on this before we have this very sad scene in the middle of the episode where he's basically, it says he's dead. I mean, we see his literal zanpakuto disintegrate. It's pretty freaking obvious that's what the scene implies. But the point is that, when you see Ichigo kind of run off to save, he doesn't say anything, it's implying that Ichigo acknowledges it and is like, hey, yeah, I'll protect Soul Society. I'll make sure nobody dies on my watch. But then, the scene at the end of the episode happens, and he loses his blade. It's, like I said, it's a very tragic scene, and the very promise he wasn't even able to keep. That's what hurts about the scene. So just, yeah, everything about this episode's good. I mean, even the OG 13 captains, by the way, oh my goodness, by the way, like I said earlier, this is filler. Like, this is legit filler, which is canon filler, technically, but this is filler. This is added content, the stuff that was promised to us as, Bleach fans, that would be added in as we continue to watch the show. So I'm very happy that we got stuff like this. We got added scenes for Bleach, getting to see the OG captains and all that. I think there was even extended scenes with some of this fight as well with, Yhwach. So just, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. But I'll leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content and you want to see more, please subscribe, hit the bell icon down below, and if you want to chill in for a chat and potentially do a watch live party stream with me, join the Discord, because that's what we did today. A bunch of us got together in Discord today, and we watched this episode of Bleach, and it was quite the experience. It's fun being able to watch all of you guys, and if any of you from the Discord is currently watching, shout-outs to you. Been having a good time. But okay, guys, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.